Good evening, this is Mariah Lucian-Lahner, again, Public Information Officer on the McKinley Fire. It's Sunday evening, September 8th, and I am here with our supply unit leader, Trey Hall. And a lot of people are really fascinated by what goes on behind the process with the fire teams to supply the firefighters out there on the ground. So tonight we're going to talk through supply and demand, and just want to give a little update. The fire itself, a lot of great work going on out there. Some backhaul, which Trey will get into going on in a little bit, and just a lot of almost 80% of the homes around structures have been mopped up around. Just a few remaining structures that we're finishing up that mop up, and really good work out there with the firefighters getting a lot done. So with that, Trey, can you tell us a little bit about what goes into supplying the firefighters out there on the line all the way through the process?
Sure. So when people think of supply, first thing they think of is, of course, the hose, the tools, things like that. And it is, there, as you can tell, it is a lot to do with supplying them the heavy firefighting gear. However, there's a lot to it. If you think of us like the circulatory system of a body, we connect everybody with everything. Whether it's food, whether it's the firefighters, whether it's
I really
plants,
like that visual,
all of
yes.
that.
Yeah.
And the reason is that everybody ties in. They need stuff. Whether you need something like pins or a new camera or something like that, to somebody out on the fire line needing some sort of new tool in that case. One of the big things is when we start with a fire, we first start with, okay, you need that firefighting equipment, that gear, whether it's the hose, the pumps, the water, and with the water, it's the tanks that we'll usually get them. So that's our first priority, is we're trying to get the firefighting gear to the firefighters themselves.
And you're talking large
supplies. So we could be talking several miles of hose within a day is ordered in. When you're looking at how we operate from start to finish, we are first broken into two parts. The first is ordering. So what I cover is actually ordering these supplies in, from the actual supplies themselves to actually people, engines, equipment. So all of that comes through us. We place the order to our local dispatch center, and then they will go to either a cache or they'll go out and buy it. So it all ties in, and then once it comes here, then it's received by a receiving and distribution manager. So a lot of paperwork, a lot of tracking, and that's all to make sure we take care of the fire first, but also the paperwork on the back end to show what have we done.
And really busy.
And very busy, always busy. The big thing is starting out is trying to keep up with all that, because there's so much spinning out and it happens so quickly, because it's a panic at times to try and just get that fire under control, that when we start to slow down a little bit, we realize, oh, we've missed some things, or oh, we know there's pumps out there, but where are they? To give you an idea on just this fire alone, right now we know there's at least about 35 miles of hose. There is about 105 chainsaws, and we're talking at least 71 Mark III pumps, which is a bigger style pump, just on this fire.
Ones,
So that's a lot. And when you think that they've got several fires going on, that's a lot of supply just lingering out there. The beauty of it is we only have to worry about taking care of our fire on this end of things, but it still can keep you busy. Now, when we start to wind down, as we are now in that phase here, then we start going through the tracking of, okay, now we got it back, where does it go? So one of the big things is we have hose. We have three different types of hose. We've got what's called the 3/4 inch. A lot of folks like to call it your toy hose. It's your standard issue cotton hose. Looks a lot like a garden hose. It's just a little bit fancier. Then you've got your 1-inch hose. Those usually run in the 100-foot lengths. And then behind us, you'll see the pile of the 1.5-inch hose. That's going to be the bigger stuff. Now, one of the things you'll see is there's a variety. Some of it looks, practically black. Some of it looks brand new, pure white. And the reason is that what they're going to do is they're going to get all of this wrapped back up, get it palletized and ready to ship back to a warehouse.
And we can see some of that happening over here, right?
So right now, we've actually got 2 hose rollers going on. And what they're going to do is they're going to try and get it tightly wrapped, because we got to get as much of this into a truck as possible. They're going to take it back to a local warehouse that goes and takes these and runs them through a machine that it'll scrub them, it'll bleach them, it'll clean them, get them ready. They'll pressure test it, and then it's serviced, ready to go again, either this year and if not this year, next year.
And what's that, when you get a hose in, like today, I know a lot of hose was coming in, what's the turnaround time to get it back out on the truck going to that processing plant?
So for our supplies here on site, we can actually receive a hose straight from a vehicle or whoever brings it in. We can have it turned around within a matter of 15 minutes, have it literally ready on a pallet to go back. What usually happens is it's not one hose, it's several 100 feet of hose. So what will happen is you'll get a big, large truckload in. So then we have to go through, we have to string it out, then we'll take it and actually roll it in, and from that band it. And so it's a bit of a process, but once you, as you can tell, once they get rolling, they actually get it down quick.
Yeah.
Today,
And working hard all day long
yeah,
doing the hose.
Yeah, today you're
Yes.
probably going to have about 3 to 4 pickup loads, and they're mounted over loads just in rolling hose. So that tells you there's a lot of work to be done. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. There's all the tools, all the chainsaws. When all these equipment come in, we've got to get them at least stacked up, piled up. Then we've got to get them ready and palletized to go back again to the warehouse. Well, they will actually go through them, check them, make sure they're good to go, and then get them ready for the next season. Right now, the fun part is with all the pumps or chainsaws, is we actually have to make sure the fuel is out of them. So that's also a little bit of a challenge, because with each fire, we always have an extra cache of fuel that we have to deal with as well. So there's all these little tidbits that goes into it.
Yeah. And remind us, you said 35 miles of hose out there?
35 miles of hose.
So it's an ultra marathon.
Yes. And it's one that there's been times where a team like ours may leave, and there may still be several hundred feet or even miles of hose, and that's where a local unit will have to come in and continue the demobbing process in that sense. So it's one that it could be start to finish a long year just in trying to get everything packaged up, put away, inventoried away. For the ordering side of things, what we try to do is we're trying to close our books, is what we call it. We make sure, did everybody get their stuff? If you've ordered up a box of pens, we want to make sure, did you get it? And that book is closed. A lot of communication goes on between a dispatch center and a buying team that's actually helping us out. So there's a variety of things going on behind the scenes. And again, that's why we always look at it like a circulatory system, in that we tie in with everyone, because everybody has a piece of the puzzle and everybody has their part to play, but we're the ones also getting them the pieces that they need to continue moving forward. So that's what we really do.
Yeah, I really like that metaphor, that analogy. With that, anything that that you wanted to cover and we forgot?
You know, the big thing is folks always ask us when they do trickle in from time to time on camps, and that is, you know, how hard is it to do stuff like this? And the first thing I always tell them is, one, you've got to be able to do numbers, tracking. The other is you've got to be willing to get dirty and really, you know, work out and heavy lifting. A lot of folks think of all the hard work is done in firefighting. That's true in some regards, but there's a lot here too. So it takes those two components together. Without that, oh man, it can be difficult. But it is one that if you have those skills and you want to apply it, it's fun. It really is.
Great. Well, thank you for filling in on the process. Let's check back with Mark behind the camera. Is there anything as far as questions out there that Trey can answer? What's that?
Burn suspension?
Yes. Yeah. So kicked on generator from the refrigerator unit, but I do want to remind people the Matsu Buro did lift the burn permit suspensions. So with that, that was lifted at noon today, September 8th, and that allows for burn barrels and piles with a permit. And again, that's the burn permit suspension lifted today, September 8th at noon. Mark, anything else behind the camera?
Someone asking about, is it possible for the public to get home from the unit?
Actually, that's a good question. We have had that question already on this fire.
Have you?
And it's no, because it's actually assigned from the state, so it's the state's property. When we turn it back in, it'll actually go back to their supply. However, if they're looking to get hose, I would recommend looking at their local fire departments, seeing if that's something they can actually tie in there. So that would be my recommendation, is tie in with your local fire departments. They might be able to work something out there.
Yeah, good. Thanks for answering that. That's not something I was aware of. So, anything else out there? All right. Well, thank you for visiting with us tonight.
Thank you.
And have a good evening out there.